Hi everyone, Eddie here at Eddie Makes Art. And today I'm using two of my newest stencils. They're both called Fancy Lace, and there's comes in two styles. The one you see here on the screen is style 2, and then there's a style 1. Basically what I'm doing here is I am using up empty pots of paint and, use as much of it as I can so it doesn't dry up in there, hanging out at the bottom, because sometimes those almost empty tubes get thrown to the back of the pile. So I'm gonna use them up and try and make some cohesive prints. And for my first color mix, I'm mixing this cadmium red paint with some Hooker's green because I don't want to make a brown. I want to make a color that's more of earthy. This is a bright red, so I want to tone it down, and the green will help me do that little by little without completely turning the mix brown. You can see this paint is getting old because there's bits and chunks in there that I'm pulling out with my finger. And I figured, you know what, let's cut these bottles open and use it up. And then I can look at what I have and see, okay, this is what I need, and make a nice list. It'll be a long list. It needs to happen because right now I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I need colors that I'm almost out of. Keep an eye out for those sales. So a couple things I'll show you today is obviously gel printing, but I'm also using tea bag paper for the first time and trying that out. And to be honest, I think it works great. It's a very comparable to the Carnival wet strength tissue that I use, but so far I think it's a good alternative. And it pulls prints well. You can see there, it pulled that very well. So basically I am trying to build a collection here of prints that I could possibly put into a digital kit to put on my Ko-fi page. Now, a lot of these are quick pulls, meaning I put the paper down over the paint on the plate. I use my wood baron to get it all smooshed out on the plate, get nice and, adhered to the paper, and then I pull it up. So if there's something left behind, that's great. And here I've got some Naples yellow and more of that cad red that I'm gonna mix up. And I'm adding some burnt umber to help get it to that earthy point. Because if I just mix those two, those would be like an orange. I'm gonna pull it back with a little bit of the burnt umber. Sometimes you don't have to mix it completely if you don't want to. If you like that, some colors not completely mixed in, use it that way. It's okay. That's what I like about the gel plate, though. You experiment with stuff like this. Mix up some, different combinations and see what works. And you can just do small little samples, you don't have to use a lot of paint to experiment. So if you're afraid, I don't want to waste my paint, you're not really wasting it if you learn how to use it properly. You waste it when you don't know how to use it and you just, doing whatever, and not getting the results that you expected from it. That to me is a waste. So I try to learn about the paints I own, how they work, with the different papers I use, how they work with the stencils I use, how they work on the gel plate, how they work in different temperatures too, different levels of humidity. So this part, I'm gonna show you what we call a flop off. So I'm taking my paper and putting it onto the stencil and gently rolling over it with the brayer to get this really cool print off the wet paint on the stencil. And it's important that your paint is wet on the stencil before you try that with plain unpainted paper because it can stick. I love this print, by the way. That looks really good. The rest of my Arctic. This is a Arctic blue from Lucas Krill. Great color. It's a great one to have in your stash. That and their Naples yellow and their fern green, 3 great paints from Lucas Krill. And some bright aqua green in here. So I want to introduce some more, some turquoise into the mix of colors. And I purposely didn't overmix this because I wanted it to be a little more mottled than a completely single color. I'll pick it up with this print I just pulled on the tea bag paper. You see I'm using a napkin because the napkin helps get into those nooks and crannies of the stencil. It also helps keeps your hand from slipping, but it also keeps your hands from getting too grungy with the paint because the paint does come through a little bit. I'm using this print to pull off whatever's left there inside the little designs of the stencil. That one's looking good. I love that combo. And for this, I am going to use my hammer mill paper again. The papers basically I'm using are hammer mill 32-pound copy paper, color copy paper, and then the tea bag paper. Here's another flop off. See, I'm gently rolling the brayer over the paper onto the stencil, and there you go. And you'll see bits and chunks on that paper. That's what's coming off the stencil, which is cool. It gives you a more grungy look to your prints if you're cool with that. So with this mix, I'm adding to the cadmium, I added the red and the bright red orange, I think it was called, or orange red. And then some Hooker's green, I believe it was. Or did I add brown? That was Hooker green with the cad red and the bright orange red. Because I want to make these into digitals, I didn't complete every print on camera because I want to keep some surprise so that when you finally see these prints, they're going to be a little bit different than what you see here. And there's a preview at the end of the video of what some of the prints, the final prints look like. So hopefully I'll be able to get that digital pack together and upload it to my Ko-fi page. And that stencil's definitely gonna have a flop off. Now, some of my brayer offs on this session turned out really, really well. And so I used some of those as well in the, to make prints for this collection. Oh, that's such a good color. And here's some cad yellow. This is a medium hue. And it's a semi-transparent paint, as you can see. And there's not a lot on there. I'm keeping it fairly thin because at this point I'm adding layers to papers that already have paint on them. And if you make them too thick, sometimes they don't stick as well. So I'm just trying to keep it thin to build the layers. Now here I'm mixing some cad yellow with the Inca Gold. It's from Folk Art. I try to keep the metallics to a minimum. I've used some, but not overwhelmingly so, if that makes sense. It does in my head. And man, after this session, the paint buildup on those two stencils is fantastic. And I think I'm gonna have to play around with them with some fluid paints maybe and try to get some pulls off where I get paint that coming off the stencil, and that creates really cool grungy prints. Now here's another metallic I'm using, but it's not, to me, it's not a strong metallic, but it's a beautiful one. It's the iridescent blue-green from Pabeo. And I believe I put the number in the description, but it's not. It's number 357. And it's a subtle, like, bit of shine that adds to the print and doesn't overwhelm it. Here's another flop off. Paper on stencil. And yeah, my fingers were pretty gunked up in paint by the time I was done here. See, that's a beautiful one. And all those bits and chunks there, that's what came off the stencil. That's awesome. Let's do a little mix here. This is with titanium white, a little bit of phthalo green, and some green yellow iridescent from Pabeo. And I like this phthalo green from Liquitex. It's pretty much a Viridian color. And I learned during my color mixing video for June that if you mix it with white, you get a beautiful, beautiful turquoise like you see here. Adding that bit of green really didn't, like the iridescent green didn't make a huge difference, so I really didn't need it. But gotta try it, you never know. And there was a lot of paint on here, so I was able to get a couple of pulls before I lifted my stencil. Ta-da, I love that one. That's cool. This is the end of my Naples yellow. As I said before, this is from Lucas Krill. It's a great color to have in your collection. And I need more yellow, so I just threw in some of that cad yellow. But I did a good job of getting a lot of paint out of those tubes. And now I feel justified in purchasing more. My paint shelves look so empty. I'm just kidding, but there's just certain colors that you fall in love with that you just have to have in your collection at all times. So I think, I think y'all get it. Now here's a print that I did. This was a flop off. I used the flop off to pick up that that paint. And now I'm using up the rest of this copper paint. See, it's another metallic, but it goes with the earthy tones on the other prints. And it'll add a little bit of shine, but it's not overpowering either, especially because like these stencils, the designs are small. The little openings are very small, so it's not like bam in your face. And if you are interested in any of my designs, you can check them out over at pmartiststudio.com. And you can just type in my name, Eddie Reyes, or Eddie Makes Art, and you will be directed to my collection of designs, and they include foam stamps as well as stencils. So check it out. So I hope you enjoyed this little gel printing session I had. I had a lot of fun making these prints, and I hope to have them all ready in a digital kit for you on my Ko-fi page sooner than later. It's a little slow process because I want to make sure all the colors work together and, do some stuff. So look out for that. I will post it in my community page and hopefully do a video showing them off, how they look when you print them off at home. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and share it with your friends. Why not? Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great day. I will see you very soon.